Next, we have our district story. So I would like to invite our principal, who is our guest, Sean McKenna, to unmute his microphone. Sean McKenna is a principal who is joining us from Cashmere, Washington. He is the principal at Vale Elementary School, and I am so glad to have him join us here because his school is such a great example of thriving parent communication, and I'm excited to have a great conversation today. So welcome, Sean.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
So first, I kind of want to just jump in and hear more about so thinking about everything that we faced last year. So as Dr. Hand so eloquently put, students have really been impacted academically in the classroom, and we're all as educators aware of the widening achievement gap that's as a result of the pandemic. So I wanted to know from you, how is engaging with parents at your school helping to positively impact the achievement gap for your school?
Well, I think I probably have a similar story to everybody else does in this group. We sent our kids off overnight and sent them out to 650 teachers, which were their parents, to teach their kindergartners how to read. And that was last spring, and that did not go well for us. We didn't have a consistent school-wide communication piece. We had significant inequities when it came to communicating with people that speak a different language. Some people did a great job with getting the translations done, some did not. And we all of a sudden had to translate every single newsletter to get it home instead of just me translating the one that goes out weekly. And that was a big aha. And so we just did our research. We knew that in order to be successful to start the school year off, we set some priorities around communication that included clarity. Like, our messages need to be clear. They need to be timely. They don't need to wait for the principal to send them out. The teachers need to be able to do that. They need to overcome language barriers. And ultimately, our communication had to lead to action. Our communication, I don't know where it led us last year, other than just living a chaotic, confused couple months there at the end. And so we, thanks to working with Brittany, I mean, we, from start to finish, we've had somebody helping us walk through this. Our teachers are able to send out messages to specific parents or class wide. They're translated. I'm able to post messages. And then we also realize we live where there's significant snow. So we were able to actually create our own ClassTag for our staff. So they weren't living in multiple platforms in regards to emergency communication and things like that. So that's kind of the journey we've been on, and it's been great. We do not have a confused, chaotic communication system anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've come really far, and I mean, I know that you have for a fact because we worked hard this year together. And so that kind of leads me to my next question, because you're kind of talking about the quality of communication that was going out, and it sounds like last year it was a little bit of kind of like a fire hose, whatever worked, throwing all the information we can at our parent community. So thinking about your communication and the outcomes of your communication, how do you know if what you're doing is successful? So like, are there specific metrics that you focus on at your school, or there's specific pieces of data that you look at?
Well, success used to be if no one complained. That was seriously our measurement that we used. Like, if I sent out the newsletter and no one complained about it, we were doing pretty well. Now we really, as far as just our success is when we have two-way communication. So it's truly now how many parents are reaching back out and want to know more, or are questioning us on certain things that we're doing in regards to practices. So that's one measurement. Another measurement is how much of our students are now present in our community. So when we have community events, it's not just necessarily, what does the community think about Vale, as much as how are we getting our youth actively engaged in these opportunities that are being shared out. Brittany, you and I get to meet every couple months, and those are the metrics that you bring are great. We're able to, debrief. I can also push out a message. I had to push one out for a snow day. We needed to go distance learning. We needed to start at 12:30, and I'm able to see how many parents received that message, read that message. If it fell on any deaf ears, or they didn't open it, or they haven't been active in ClassTag for weeks, then we make personal phone calls, because it tells me right away on my dashboard, like, you're not communicating with that family, even though it appears to be. So a couple different ways to measure it now.
Yeah, that's helpful. So it sounds like you've made a lot of changes since last year. So keeping Dr. Scott Hand's talk in the back of our mind, thinking about changes to the things that you're doing. What are some of the changes that you've made that were as a result of COVID, but things that you want to continue doing or stick with looking forward to 2021 with your school?
It's interesting. We're doing our teacher observations right now, and one of the questions that I always ask in our final conversation is, what's something you can't wait to leave, which is typically masks. That's usually the one that they can't wait to forget about. And when you ask them what's one thing you're going to continue on, it's going to be parent communication.
Mhm.
Our teachers are saying that they are authentically having two-way parent communication now, and it always has been one-way communication, whether it be we weren't translating things because we didn't deem it, as important as a principal's newsletter or
Mhm.
whatever, but they feel like they have a platform now that
Mhm.
they can bring in. And that's coming from my staff, who, as you guys probably all agree, they weren't excited. I will be honest, they were not excited to start the school year with a new thing. Everything was already new. And so it did take a little bit of convincing,
Mhm.
that this will actually make our lives easier. For example, scheduling the parent teacher conferences. And so it took a little bit of convincing, but
Mhm.
now that we've used it for 6 months, that is the single thing that that would all agree that we're going to continue to move forward on. And I think our parents would agree as well.
So, so thinking about that, so it sounds like you're planning to take with you a lot of these two-way interactions. Is there anything else that I can give you time or a little bit of time to elaborate on? Is there anything else that you're going to be planning? Sorry, let me start over. So I was getting ahead of myself with that question. So how are you planning your communication strategy for next year?
So our communication strategy is going to be focusing on equitable
Mhm.
communication, means of communication with all families. And so um, ClassTag obviously is going to play a critical role in that. Our middle school and high school are moving towards it. Middle
Mhm.
school has already started the transition, and the high school now, the parents are requesting that they move to the same platform because of the ability to translate, the ability to text the family
Mhm.
back. So our main focus in the school district around communication is equitable communication for all demographics that are in our school district, not just our English speaking families.